Yeah. All right, let's see who's around. Catalina Carreño. Catalina, you there? Okay, all right, no problem. Sharon?
Yes, hello.
Sharon, it's going. Carlos Alberto Diaz.
I am here.
Carlos is going. Carol Jimena Camba.
Hi, Professor.
Carol, how are you? Silvia Helves. Jazz Gonzalez.
Hi, Professor.
Yes, it's going. Iván Guillén, doing Iván. Laura Hernández.
Good evening, Professor.
Laura, how are you? Vilma Mendoza. Here, okay. María Pava. See here. Mayerly Parra. Kevin Ramírez. María Gabriela Rodríguez. Diego Alejandro Rodríguez. Okay, Gabriela Chescani. Diego, how's it going? Juan David Rojas.
Good evening.
Juan David, how's it going? Valentina, Paula Valentina Santos.
Hi, I'm here.
Thank you. Giovanni Andrés Torres. Jerry Chesky. All right. Hey, Gabriela, yeah, I checked you in already. Thank you. Okay, so, well, let me. All right, so last day we started talking about PBL. Today we're gonna do some recap about this topic. We have time, but we're gonna do one practical activity. Then if we have time, we'll talk about a study conducted by a professor who was interested in analyzing PBL implemented in schools. So, but we'll see if we have time. I already uploaded guidelines for the final intervention. They are already modified. And for the people who have classes with Zoom, that intervention is not gonna be taken into account. Okay, I don't know if you already talked to Suma. For the people who are taking the class of assessment with her. When did she say that? On Friday. Well, as far as I understood from what we talked on Thursday, because we talked about it, she said she was thinking about using some of the like work that you're doing with her for the final term. So I understood she would not be using the part of assessment in this intervention for her final term. That is what I got from her. A different situation happens with Professor Margarita. So if some of you are taking the class with her, she's gonna use that final intervention for her final term. All right, because she told me that she would be using that. But I understood from Sulma that she would be doing something different. So if you're with Sulma and she tells you to do something else for the final term, you don't need to do the whole assessment section in our intervention. It means you will have to just include the section of assessment with a summary of the types of assessment you will do, and maybe include only the tools that you would use for the plans that you need to submit, right? I think that is not problematic. No, at this point, I think that wouldn't be something that can cause trouble to us. Okay, so if you have 11 graders, you can go with that, no problem. You already have the sessions plan? Wow.
We have like a draft or some
Okay. You have an
consultation,
idea, like an outline of,
but it's more specific than an outline, but it's not complete.
okay, all right. Yeah, so you're asking me, Diego? Well, the idea, guys, yeah, of course. The idea is that, well, I was gonna tell you that. The idea is I know we are having like a very short time for us to do that. So if you remember like the schedule, the syllabus we had, there were some wiggle sessions in which you would like have the time and the space for you to work on that. So those sessions are going to be kept, right? So I am according to from what happens today, what we can do is that we can use our next session this week for finishing with the topics, and then the next sessions the next week, you will have that time for you to work on the intervention, right? So you can like you receive feedback from me, ask me questions. You can be working during class time. Okay, that is the idea, so that you can have those sessions for you to work. Exactly. Yeah, that you basically ask me, and we can like have a look in detail to what you're doing and what you're lacking and stuff. Exactly. Following the guidelines in what you like, you will have the time to ask me questions and well, to work on that. All right.
All right. Sorry, I forgot a question.
Yes, sir.
Well, it says that it should be 8 hours and for 2 weeks. That means that they have 4 hours per week of
Exactly.
English.
Sí.
Okay. So 2 hours are face-to-face and the other are online. That's correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, you need to follow the guidelines, Diego, because that is the idea of the guidelines, right? This is a work why. But you need to confirm if she's using this, because I'm telling you, what we talked on Thursday was something different. So I don't know if Suma changed her mind. I don't know. I need to confirm with that. I don't know if maybe I can talk to her tonight, maybe drop her a message or something, or tomorrow to see if she is doing something different from what she told me on Thursday, because she told me no, I think I'm gonna do something else because we don't have time, so on and so forth. So exactly. Something, no, that would be crazy for you to do something different. No, so in that case, we would need to talk to Suma and come to an agreement, right? Because
Yes,
yeah,
professor, and I don't know, but what I understand on Friday was like Professor Suma said that yes, that they were separate work, but that we could use what we were doing in her class for your project too. Well, I asked her and she told me that I don't know.
uh, well, you will have to confirm with her if what you're doing here would work, you know, because if she's giving you like other guidelines and things like that, well, that would make life harder to you. Well, yeah, I know, I understand. So I'll have to talk to her. Okay. Yes, because I don't know what if she's doing something different, I don't know what that is. Yeah, because the idea was like, okay, we're gonna do the same, and those are the guidelines for the final intervention. But if she changed that and gave you a different thing, well, then I will have to change everything, and I don't think I have the time for changing everything. So yeah, we need to see and well, maybe I don't know, we can come to an agreement or something. But I think I also have to talk to her. All right, let's start today. Well, let's move. Well, last day we finished in here, right? We watched the video, and that was the last thing we did, right? Okay. So Well, we're gonna do that because we are going to be doing something similar. So let's recap, right? Let's recap before we move on. So, what is PBL approach? If you're asked, okay, but what is PBL? What would you say?
It's a way to engage students in investigation and research, like a first contact to research, and a way to provide solutions to a problem they can think about. And there are many benefits, right? But I won't mention them.
Okay, all right. Yes, Diego? Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, you're giving Ivan's definition is a little bit broader, no? Your definition, Diego, is like closing the scope a little bit. Would somebody else like to complement? You you agree with Diego's and Ivan's
No,
definitions?
don't agree. Don't agree.
Or
I'll go to the discussion.
because what we in those definitions we just heard, we can identify main elements in PBL, right? In the I like the first part. Well, I like Diego's definition. When he says that is an approach coming from science, right? From science in science learning, right? Where we have our students engage in the solution to a driving question or to a problem that needs to be addressed, right? That is related to their context, right? Or to real life situations, right? And in doing so, our students develop different types of skills, you know? And basically those skills that belong to the set of skills proposed by UNESCO in the 21st century skills. Critical thinking, problem solving, and those soft
And
skills.
by Bloom with the pyramid.
Exactly, and also by the typology designed by Bloom, right? Bloom's taxonomy. So, but and also we could say that by having our students engage in those tasks that are part of the projects, uh, they also develop communication, right? That is something that we cannot forget because, yeah, we have an output, we have a product, we have an end product, which is tangible, right? But also by getting to that output, our students develop linguistic skills. Like, of course, we cannot forget about that because we're talking about the ELT context, right? So it depends on us and how we arrange the standards we need to teach or we need to give. If we refer to the public sector, for instance, if you remember the video, like the teachers there had to follow and they had to give some standards which were mandatory. We talk about our public sector here, that would be something similar. Right? So we need to accommodate in terms of linguistic skills our students need to develop. And based on that, we would of course develop the other skills that we were mentioning, the 21st century skills and other skills they need to develop for them to be able to work in the projects, right? So this is an approach that gives us many possibilities in terms of what we can do with our students, and the benefits, as Ivan was mentioning, are a lot, right? So that connects with the second part in this recap, which is, if somebody asks you, why should we use or implement project-based learning, what would you say? How would you justify the use of PBL? Or how would you not justify? Maybe somebody doesn't want to justify that. I don't know. Could be a possibility.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, by mentioning those benefits and why shouldn't we use it? Probably the major deterrent is that the teacher needs to be versed in that approach. Otherwise, the result is not going to be good.
The teacher needs to be what, sorry?
Needs to know how to apply, how to design it.
For sure, yeah, needs to understand his or her role, right?
Mm-hmm.
This could be related to what a student was saying the other day. I don't know if that was in this class. I think it was Silvia. She was saying, yeah, but then how can we do to know, for instance, if students come up with projects that are far from our knowledge, how can we do to help them?
Yeah, and you said that we obviously didn't have to know every single topic.
Exactly.
But to be able to navigate into questions and guiding them with possibilities. Okay, now you can do this. Okay, show me what you have to do next, or something like that. Yes.
Yeah, exactly, Ivan. And that is what I was meaning, you know, well, we need to understand our role. Our role is not to
facilitating.
Yeah, exactly. Be more a facilitator, a guide, a person who can give feedback to them, but also we can have strategies, or we can look for strategies in which we can have peer review, you know, like you remember the example of critical
in
friends.
The video? Yeah, critical friends.
Exactly. Where the rest of the classmates like had the chance to give feedback, you know? So we can think of strategies in which we can also help every of the groups receive comments and feedback to what they are doing in their projects, not only from us, because we should lead, but we should also involve the rest of the students in that process. In there, we are addressing other types of assessment, you know, peer assessment. That it's also relevant, and that we would have the chance to do that. All right, what else for justifying PBL? What else would you say?
If I may say something else that I was thinking about, is that the students' communication, I mean, that they talk among themselves and they stir curiosity, and it's not only like usually happens, the teacher is doing the talk and saying what to do and stuff, but they are getting to know each other through the process of investigation and Yeah, so that's a good thing for me. I would say like
Collaboration,
the
you know,
huh?
collaboration.
Collaboration. Right.
That is another important skill we need to develop, right? Or our students need to develop collaborative work, right? And that could be, if we are not aware of what is going on, that could be a drawback, right? If we like are not guiding the groups, because some students, as we said
Yeah.
last class, some students could just
Go their
distract,
way.
or not work properly, or like don't help
Start
uh,
gossiping,
their
not doing anything.
classmates. Exactly.
Because
So in there we can also find techniques for that. Like assigning roles is one of the best techniques there. Having groups and assigning a roles to each of the members of the group, so that they all have something
yeah,
to do, right?
like a
Eh,
musical band or an
exactly,
orchestra.
exactly. So that is why we need to be there, like paying attention to what happens. And also we cannot forget about like linguistic input, right? Because our students need to have the input necessary for them to be able to um, achieve what they're expected to achieve. Right? So we cannot just expect our students to do all the work without us
Mhm.
providing them that input, which is necessary. You know?
Okay. How could we do that?
Well,
We as teachers, like,
you know that the
for
project
example.
is not developed in one session. You know, we're talking
Mhm.
about like these sort of projects. We will take one term for
Yeah,
instance,
yeah.
or half of the term. So in that, during that time,
So
we do need to
can
have
do readings, watching
exactly,
videos,
yeah, and we
consuming
do need to
content,
have
yeah,
sessions in which we explain,
and explaining. Okay.
yeah, and provide that input and present, give that input to students so they are clear on the language they need for them to be able to work in the project, right?
Okay.
That is why I was telling you we need to relay that to the standards we are working at, right?
Mhm.
So we need to plan that, and we need to plan for that carefully. We
Right.
just cannot tell them, okay, you're gonna do a project, do whatever you want. There needs to be a plan. That's why
So,
these sorts of things should be carefully planned at the beginning of the year. You know?
okay. Do you know about any book that lays out this approach?
Wow, there are quite a
Any?
few. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But
uh,
could you mention like one that is really good and straightforward?
well, the ones that we have there, let me check, because at this moment I have lots of things going on in my mind. But from the literature we have, uh, you can, okay, let's see.
All right.
Let me see.
You mean in Schoology? We have those in Schoology.
Yeah, in the
Okay,
materials
good.
we have for the
Okay.
semester. Let me see. I just see the titles and I remember. Well, from what we have there, I think there are some chapters on PBL in the book by Trilling and Charles, 21st Century Skills. That's not the topic of the book, but in there we can find some information. Also in the book, no, but I don't have here access to the main folder. Well, I can look for that and I can give you the titles so that you can check them out. But there is plenty of literature regarding PBL. Okay. Anyways, there are a couple of books there that you can use. Okay, let's see. Recap number 3. What are the 4 major learning sciences ideas that are present in PBL? Do you remember them? Does anybody remember? No?
But Professor, I know what is meant by learning sciences ideas. Like
those that is one. Yeah, learning sciences ideas are those ideas taken from learning sciences, you know, like
okay.
people who are in the field, who are scholars, who are investigating and who are producing
how
knowledge.
learning happens.
People who investigate learning.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you remember, let's go back so we can see them.
What did you say, Diego? What was
This one.
Active construction.
Situated learning, social interaction, and cognitive tools, right? So those are the 4 major ideas coming out from learning sciences, right? So those are the ones present there in project-based learning. Okay. But we're going to talk about them in a little while because in what is coming, we talk about something related. And what about the final one? From the experience in the video last section, do you think we could implement PBL in our public education context?
I think it depends sometimes.
Sorry?
I think it depends sometimes.
Depends on
unless
yes.
before you get, because most of the institutions are public, well, you ask for public education. So sometimes the schools don't like support teachers when it comes to like resources. So sometimes you just have to get them on their own, and that's difficult because they either have to ask their students for help or money, or they have to get it from their own pocket. So I think it depends on that and on the students' like willingness or motivation to participate, because sometimes they just don't like it, and it's like, oh, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And also your own drive, because there are teachers that not lazy, but they don't like to do extra work they're not paid for. So I think it depends.
Exactly. Yeah, there are many variables there, right? To analyze. One is the context, the population, then the difficulties we could have in terms of access to resources, right? To resources that are crucial, and we can think of internet access, internet connection, computers, also materials, some other type of materials they could need. So that would be a challenge, right? Normally schools do have rooms where they call that computer, or they call it laboratory, sometimes, or computer lab. And they are supposed to have internet connection and computers that are working. That most of the times doesn't happen, like internet connection is faulty, or is not existent, or is not working, or so that is a challenge, right? In terms of teachers' preparation, we can also think of challenges there, right? And as somebody was pointing out at the beginning of the class, maybe teachers are not knowledgeable about how to implement PBL the best way possible, right? Yeah, that is a reality. That is true. That is encouraged in the suggested curriculum in Colombia, along with task-based approach and problem-solving approaches, right? And yeah, we have challenges because of the variables we mentioned, but if we try to find ways in which we can engage our students, I think that will be successful. And if we plan that, as I was telling you, since the very beginning, if we include that, teachers in the public sector have sessions where they work and plan before the school year starts. So they can plan for that. They can plan for projects in their terms, right? They normally have 3 terms. They call them periodos, I don't know if you're clear on that. 3 periodos or 4, depending on the school, that varies, 3 or 4. So they could decide on having 1 project per term, be a possibility. If they plan that in advance, I think we could have successful projects. And if teachers are clear on how to do that, right? Yeah, of course, for sure. Yeah. And the good thing about, for instance, the suggested curriculum is it gives teachers ideas on how or what sorts of projects they could use. And also if they are using, for instance, the books produced by the ministry, Way to Go, English Please, those books feature project-based learning, right? So the teacher doesn't have to invent everything from scratch, but teacher can have a guide, and some ideas for he or she to plan, right? So I think it's feasible as far as we are clear on what we are to do, as far as we plan in advance, as far as we have those micro teaching ideas or techniques clear, right? And as far as we understand our role, right? And of course, as far as resources allow, right? Resources in the school allows the projects to be carried out the best way possible, right? But I think it's not impossible, okay? I have seen a couple of cases of teachers working with projects and the results are really nice. Students engage and you see them working. You see them working and you see that they are enthusiastic about what they are doing. On the other hand, you see other teachers who are just classic teachers and in their, well, the attitudes of students are different. So I think it's not impossible. We just need to understand those variables and try to address them the best way possible. Okay. Well, let's talk about these 5 key features that are present in PBL. Okay. The first one is, as we mentioned before last class, is driving questions. And those driving questions encompassing worthwhile content that is meaningful and anchored in a real world situation, something we were mentioning. And in there, we need to be a good guide for our students. We need to provide them guidance because on that depends the success of the project, right? If we leave students think about unachievable or unrealistic ideas, that is going to be problematic for them and for us. So our role is to be there at the beginning to narrow the scope and let students know that even when they have great ideas for solving out any problem or situation they identify, we need to be realistic, right? And we need to narrow our scope, right? But we are clear on the fact that those driving questions need to be anchored or closely related to real life situations, especially to the context in which students are living in, and studying as well, because the school is situated somewhere, and in there we find a context and we find particular situations happening or going on in that context. So a good driving question is featuring worthwhile content while at the same time is meaningful because it's related or closely related to real life situations. Okay, so in there our role is to be there guiding students for them to know, for them to understand that their questions and their situations or their problems to be solved should not be unrealistic, should be achievable, and should have a reduced scope. Okay, then we have situated inquiry. And as you can read here, one of the most effective ways of fostering learning is when that learning is situated in authentic real world context. So we see how this first feature, which is about the driving questions, is connected with that situated inquiry. That makes the learning process be more smooth, right? So that should happen as a result of students' analysis and reflection of how what they are proposing can relate to that authentic real world context in which they are living, their neighborhood, their school, their city, depending on what they want to do. The third one is collaboration. Like we were mentioning this, collaborative work is crucial, and that is one of the 21st century skills. So students should collaborate with others as they work in the projects, and they should also and we should also as teachers help them out, right? So there are different sorts of collaboration there, right? But mainly they are developing that like group work ability and that those collaborative skills. Another feature is the usage of technology, right? Why? Because in there, when we help our students, or when we challenge our students in the use of technological tools, well, we can be the witnesses of a transformation from the normal classical classroom into a place that where students or learners activate the construction of knowledge, right? So technology is a must. In there, we have a huge challenge because of what we're saying, access to internet, to computers, to equipment, to tools that can serve the use of technology, right? But that is another feature of project-based learning. And the fifth one is the creation of artifacts. And we were talking about the outputs our students create when they are working in their projects, right? So that comes from learning sciences. So learning sciences research shows that students learn more effectively when they develop artifacts, right? Which are, the worst external representations of that constructed knowledge they are building. they are developing. Right? Does somebody want to ask a question? Who's got the microphone open?
No, Professor. By mistake, I opened the microphone.
That you wanted to say something. Yeah, so those artifacts are related to the outputs. I mean, the end products of the projects. So the artifacts can be of different types. You know? We can think of an output, a possible output being, for instance, a campaign. That would be an output, right? And it's not necessarily something that we can think of. If you think about the word artifact, something comes to our mind, right? Like we have created a device or something, but not necessarily. You know? So this artifact related to something that is tangible, but it's not necessarily an invention. Right?
Can be, for example, a poster or even a presentation like in the video.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, sir. But what is most important is that we are clear on the fact that students are creating those external representations of the knowledge they are building. You can call it whatever you want. You know, the presentation would be that external representation, because in a presentation we could also portray results of data collection tools we use, for instance. If students are interested in working in a campaign, for instance, for example, in school, to foster equality or the understanding of diversity, like that is an external representation. If they come up with the posters, you know, that result from that campaign, or a representation they do of the findings they got after collecting data, you know, and the sensibilization of the community, for instance, in school. How does that happen? Well, by means of presenting that and carrying out that campaign, you know. So that is the idea about that creation. It fosters creativity in students, and they come up with an output. Okay. All right. Good. So, what about driving questions? Here's you can see some features of good driving questions. They should be, in the first place, feasible. Right. This, what I was telling you about this some minutes ago. Students should not think about unachievable enterprises, right? They should be conscious about the reality as well, right? So they need to be feasible. They need to be worthwhile. Sometimes students, they want to play jokes or tricks on you, and they want to be funny, you know? So they like to come up with crazy ideas that are not worthwhile or not feasible or unachievable. So our role is there to like tell them, okay, like, you need to take this seriously, right? Because students tend to come up with, like, I remember I have a couple of cases in workshops that I have given where students are to develop some sort of projects or ideas for projects, and they come up with ideas that like make you think and reflect a lot on what those kids have in their minds, right? So it's our duty to help them understand, like, your idea should be an idea that could help a community, society, you know, your family, like a group of people, right? So those should that should be a characteristic of a good driving course. It should be worthwhile. It should be contextualized as well. You know, that makes it more engaging, as we have mentioned before. That should be meaningful, okay, because of what we have said as well. And they should be ethical. That is something key there, right? Students should understand that their ideas should be worthwhile, okay? In they should not be thought as ideas that can end up in something that is not beneficial for the society or for people in general, right? Because well, students are they sometimes want to be funny, so they will come up with things that are not ethical. So we should be there to provide that feedback. No, wait a minute. What is that for? How is that worthwhile and feasible and contributing to people around you? So they should be ethical all times. All right. Now, let's have a look at these two situations. I want you to read them. We have two examples of two lessons. And I want you to tell me which one you think is an example of a language project and which is an example of a project-based learning class. No? As I told you the other day, we can have normal projects that are not normally associated to PBL approach, right? That's also possible. So we're gonna read them and you're gonna tell me. Who would like to help me with the reading of number one, please? Okay, wait. Catalina, what's your question? Catalina's got a question. Sorry, Diego. Well, yes or no questions don't give us the possibility to go further. It's like a research question. If you ask a research question and it's a polar question, well, what are your chances for you to investigate or to try to understand something? If you come up to find that the answer is yes or no. So I think driving questions should be open-ended, right? Because yeah, we can have closed questions, you know, but that's not beneficial for all the process that students need to go through for them to achieve their objectives in terms of what they expect to come up with as a result of the project, you know, the output, right? Okay, Catalina. And everybody. All right, let's analyze this question. How can we explore and expand hip hop culture in Bucaramanga? In there you have two things: explore and expand. And if you think of this as driving question for a project, what would be the output? Maybe if I see the second verb, I can think of something, but that is too broad. Expand. You know, this is what I was talking about narrowing the scope. If you think about expanding hip hop culture in Bucaramanga, I don't know. Right? Expand means how many people, you know, in the what for, and then is it worthwhile? We want to expand hip hop culture. What for? What is the intention of that? Is that feasible? Can we do that if we have a project in a class? All those questions we need to have our students ask themselves, because we start analyzing if we think about the features of good driving questions, well, we come up with ideas on how we can restate those driving questions. Promote, you mean promote hip hop culture? Because explore, well, explore would be, you can explore something anyways that is also open, right? It's broad. Explore could be collecting data, for you to understand hip hop culture in Bucaramanga. I bet, right? That would be the idea. For you to know how many people belong to that sort of culture or subculture, right? But there are many, there are many things that we need to keep in mind, and precisely that is our role when our students are coming up with the questions, that we can guide them. Okay, that's what I was doing with you here, right? So what would be a good driving question if we want to transform this example that Catalina is presenting to us? What do you think? First of all, is it worthwhile answering it or addressing this for us to start working on a project? Like, what do we want to do with that? With the answer of that question? What problem are we solving out? Or is it just a question that comes out of your curiosity? You mean, okay, like the discrimination of those people, maybe? Okay, I think if we talk about that, we can find a better way to address this, no? Because that would be one nice objective: stop like discrimination of people who belong to subcultures, and we can focus in hip hop subculture. That would be something that would be an idea that could be worked out. How can you promote? All right, promote hip hop culture. What for? We think about ideas that are worthwhile. Yes. Okay, I'm not saying that this could be worthwhile for you because you maybe love hip hop, right? But when we talk about an idea that is worthwhile, we should think as a collective. We should think as like, doing something that can contribute somehow. Of course, we will find lots of cases in which students do not want to do something worthwhile most of the times. Right? But if we can lead them to that point, they can engage more and they can see results of their projects being of help, to society and to their community, or to people, to the group of people in general. Right? What are the benefits of a hip-hop based culture in the school? The assumption behind is that in the next school there is a strong culture of hip-hop. So we would start with something that is in the school and happening. Yeah, but in there you have an implicit message. Yes, but you by asking the question that Ivan is asking, you are taking something for granted. What are the benefits? You are taking for granted that hip hop gives benefits, like to a group of people in a school. That is something we should not do in research. Never. Right? And of course, this is not like, we are not forming our students to be researchers and stuff, like that would be nice. That would be nice, but well, given the level and stuff, but at least we should help them.
Yeah.
These sorts
So
of
maybe we
questions.
could change. I understand your point. Maybe we could change that for effects.
What are the
That
effects?
it includes obviously benefits and negative things. Let's say
Yes.
both sides.
Yeah. And you know that in research, we have something that is called the null hypothesis. You remember that? The null hypothesis. I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's null hypothesis. Yeah.
Ah,
The null.
how could I forget that?
Yeah. So for example, in here, we can think that there are benefits, or the contrary, that the null hypothesis would be the contrary. There are no benefits in hip hop based culture in school. The goal is to invite kids with low resources to explore and apply hip hop culture. Okay, what is then? I have more questions. What is it to apply hip hop culture? And explore. What is explore? Like, start listening to the music, start singing, start dressing like people in that subculture, have some behaviors of people, or maybe what I understand from what you have in mind is that we could help kids belonging to some specific places in the city to get away from evil things, from drugs, from like robbery stuff, evil doing in general, and make them understand that if they start getting involved in something in arts, because this would be about arts, like helping kids to learn how to write songs, for instance, and rap. Yeah, that would be engaging for those kids, and they would think about having a different life, if they become rappers and singers. That is the idea, right? So so the driving question would be, well, it depends, because there are many things that can be done, right? There are many things that can be done. So I think a project that is worthwhile could be for students to connect people who are who already belong to that subculture, right? And a good project, for instance, a good output for that project would be a for instance, a video where you present some cases of youngsters who were belonging to some gangs before, and now they are in this hip hop world. They are just focusing on art and on arts, doing something different, singing, giving message to other people with what they do. So I think the driving question should be related to that. That could be an idea, or also a campaign in which students feel or students know, a campaign in which youngsters can relate to others in a different way, by the means of using art rather than just with violence, because that is what happens in the context. Like the interactions are violence, and if we can take those kids to an artistic field, like they would change their lives. Yeah, that would be another possibility. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that could be possible. Yeah, actually, well, I don't know if, because Bucaramanga is a special place in terms of what youngsters like. Normally what they like is cumbias and vallenato, mainly, right? And reggaeton now. Well, reggaeton could be somehow connected because in reggaeton they are supposed to be rappers. They say they are not good rappers, but at least they belong to that urban style of of music. So that would be a good idea. Yeah, you can connect, and if the group of students can connect those youngsters to a different kind of music, right? Yes. No, normally in Bucaramanga they do, right? Cumbias a lot in popular neighborhoods. Cumbias and vallenato. That is what people listen to in our city. And nowadays, música popular, right? A lot of
I
corridos.
don't know. I don't know, but yeah, go ahead, Diego.
Yeah, yeah, and cumbias as well. Cumbias are really strong here. Yes, they are. We cannot deny that. We belong to a cumbia city. Eh, what's the version? Exactly. Yes, Catalina. That'll be the idea. Exactly. And we could think about feasible questions. Of course, questions in which we do not take for granted anything. Questions in which we can, of course, our driving question is like the starting point, right? And we need to have, or we should have our objective clear. This is what we want to do. And we need to be aware of the possibilities we have to achieve what we have in mind as an objective for us to be able to solve that driving question. The problem, what is the problem? The problem is clear. Like, kids are not doing or do not have access to different possibilities. So the context in which they live in is very violent, and they consume drugs, so on and so forth. So we want to bring them to a different scenario where they can be involved in something else, start singing, start doing something different, right? And see that as a possibility of finding a different life. That would be a really nice thing. Exactly. That would be something really nice to do. And actually, yeah, kids would be engaged. And it doesn't necessarily have to be hip hop, Exactly. The music they like, right? So, yeah, could be something else, or it could be also arts in general, painting, or I don't know, doing something else, right? For them to get away from those negative influences there. The problem is that we have negative influences in this country that are famous. But well, that is another story. Hip hop. Okay. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And there are lots of cases like that. I have seen cases in Cali, Medellin, where people or kids from the comunas, they join those colectivos and they end up being really good singers, and they compose and they get away from evil doing. So that is something that is nice. You know, they also do different types of art in the good thing about that is if we are able to connect consciousness to the art, you know, so we can give a message through the art that is a conscious message, not just for the sake of singing or doing something with that, but you're able to transmit a message about the realities they live. You know, if they are able to make people aware of the difficulties there are and how the government is not doing well, well, it'll be a win-win situation. Okay, you're doing that what in reality as a project, as a research project. Okay. All right. So let's see the lessons. So Diego, could you please help me reading the first one? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Diego. Now, who can help me reading lesson 2? Sharon?
Yes. The topic is traveling around the world. Students read a text about traveling in Vietnam, Peru, Oman, and France. We teach topic-related vocabulary and highlight a grammar point. Do practice exercises related to both. Now students discuss their own town or country and discuss how tourism can be promoted to boost local economy. Students create short questionnaires for small business owners, for tourists, for locals to understand the impact of tourism. They may speak to an expert or local authority to gather ideas to boost tourism. Students then work in groups to present the information collected in a presentation or written report. They conduct idea generating brainstorm sessions, pinpoint an idea they want to work on, say a blog, an Instagram account about their town, and work on it. The teacher assesses the student at various stages based on criteria such as fluency, accuracy of grammar and vocabulary, and the 4 C's of 21st century learning that are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity.
All right. So I think that the answer is sort of evident, right? So which one is an example of a language project and which one is a PBL example? Exactly. What are the differences and why? They are, sorry, they are based on what? Yeah, and not only because of stages, but because of students, what students come up with and what they do, you know? Let's analyze the lesson, the first lesson. Of course, we have the same section here. We teach them topic related vocab. What I was telling you about the input, you know, we should also give them the input. We should teach topic related vocab, highlight grammar point, do practice exercise. Okay, so the teacher allocates an hour for students to plan a holiday. So students plan a holiday in a country of their choice, right? They do that in how much time? 1 hour, right? Then they should go to online sites so that they plan their holiday, and then they present their ideas to the rest of the class, right? That's it. So that is what the teacher is going to assess, you know, and the teacher is going to assess that and check for fluency, accuracy in grammar, and vocab, right? Okay, so in here we could say, can we say that students are having an output as a result of what they're doing, what they are doing?
Be counted as some output, but I understand. You mean a product, like an artifact?
Uh-huh.
So
They are.
no.
They are actually presenting something, you know? They are presenting what?
Mhm.
The plan for their holiday, right? Which could be, I don't know, maybe a poster or something they can do in 1 hour. You know?
Mhm.
So they don't have like too much time to do that. So that is something that happens in just one lesson. Yeah. So we can think of, I think this is more a task, you know, rather than a project. This would be an example of a task. Yeah. What is the task? Okay, students do some search. They think, they think about where they would like to go, right? And they just come up with ideas for the plan. This is what we're going to do first, then this, then that, etc., etc. And that is what they present at the end, and they are assessed. Okay, so that is an example of something that can happen in a lesson. What about the other lesson plan? We have the same topic, right? The same countries. We, of course, give the input. That is important. But then students go through different processes that are more complex, right? Students discuss their own town or country, and now discuss how tourism can be promoted to boost local economy. Wouldn't this be an example of a driving question?
Yes.
You see, that is something we don't have in here on the left in lesson 1, right? Students just are told to do something, a task, to fulfill a task. You know? Okay, plan a holiday. These are the options you have. Plan it, period. That's it. They look for information and they come up with their plan, which is good. But in here, students are answering a driving question, which is how tourism can be promoted to boost local economy. That question is worthwhile, right? That is something that can be achievable, right? Or at least the starting point of something that can be feasible, right? That is something that is related to their context, right? That is contributing as well to the community or to the city, we could say, because if the economy is boosted, like everything, everybody's in different ways receiving some benefits out of that, right? So for them to come to the answer to that driving question, what do? They create those short questionnaires for those small business owners, for tourists, for locals to understand the impact of tourism. Then they speak to an expert or a local authority, the Cámara de Comercio, or people who know about this in the city. What for? For them to gather ideas to boost tourism. So as part of the information they are collecting, they are collecting data from different sources, you know, not just from the questionnaires. And then what happens? They work in the groups to present the information collected in a presentation or a written report. Then this would be one output, you know, the written report or the presentation. Then they work again collaboratively, and they work on something that is really interesting for them. You know? A blog, an Instagram account about something in their town, about like tourism in their town. You know? See, so that could be another output, right? And what is the assessment? Well, the assessment is also based on the criteria or the aspects that we have on the lesson 1, but this time they are also assessed in the 4 C's of the 21st century skills, which is communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. Okay. Okay. If you're thinking about one lesson, that would be a task. You know, if you're thinking about a project for a lesson, that wouldn't be I don't know if calling it a project. That would be a task that students would be like working on for one lesson. Remember that projects take longer. If we analyze what we have on the right, do you think that students would be able to do all of that in one lesson? I don't think so, right? Definitely they will take longer, right? They will take longer for doing so because they do need to work on the data collection tools. They need to think about the questions that are going to be asked. They need to brainstorm on ideas for boosting local tourism or local economy through to like tourism. And then they have some interviews as well with some people that can give some ideas, right? So the first stage of the project would be presenting those results. This is what we got. Now we're gonna do something else to boost tourism and local economy. You know? And that would be like the biggest output or the main output or end product they will have. Creating that Instagram profile, you know, or that blog that is going to serve locals and people in that community to boost their economy, to boost their tourism, right? So that will take longer. Depending on what we ask students to do, that will take, we could say that could take 1 term in a school year, or half of the term, at least. So in every class, they keep on working in their project. You know, that takes time. Okay. All right. You fancy having a break now, guys? Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Please.
Yes, I know. So let's have the break. 15 minutes. We come back and continue. Okay. Thank you, guys. See you in a little while. Okay, guys, we continue. You there?
No problem.
Yes, Professor.
Okay, perfect. Well, so now we're gonna do some practice. I want you to work in groups, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to use ideas for some possible projects to be used in our ELT context. You're going to think about the process you would follow as the teacher or teachers in charge, and you would create the guidelines as if they were going to be handed out to your students. They should be 10 or 11 graders of the public sector in our country. So you should keep in mind these steps. Right? Think about the goal in the first place, then choose a specific problem or question, then plan and facilitate the process, and then present final products or artifacts. Okay, so the idea is for you to create those steps for your students to follow, those guidelines, for them to work on a project. Okay, this time you will not allow your students to come up with their ideas, but you will tell them the topic in which they need to work on. Okay. Are there any questions?
How long do we have for this?
I think 20 minutes will do. I think.
Well,
Could be 20 minutes for starting. If you need more time, well, we can see the possibility to extend it 30 minutes or a bit more. Okay. So, send you to breaker rooms. We're going to have, yeah, groups of 3, it's okay. And we'll start working. Okay, we go.
Hola. Él cree que no tenemos suficiente. Sí, oye Catalina, ¿por qué estás sola en ese cosa? No. Sí, la recortó. Sí, porque antes decía 2 units y eran 8. Ahora las dejo en 4. O sea, básicamente está como igual. Bueno, no igual, pero se puede unir con lo de Zulma, digo yo. Sí, ella el viernes dijo que eran 2 cosas separadas, que ya si nosotros queríamos como utilizar de lo de ella para esta clase, lo hiciéramos, pero que eran separados, que con María Eugenia sí lo habían unido. No entiendo por qué yo no hice lo mismo. Sí. Yo también voy a utilizar el mismo. No, 8. 8 horas, 4 lesson plan. O sea, 4 clases. Sí, menos mal en mi grupo no fue nadie y no alcanzamos a adelantar. Sí, Sebastián y Carol y ellos no eran 3. Sí, yo también pensaba hacerlo sola, pero es demasiado. Nosotros no habíamos hecho algo así para didáctica, para niños. Creo que sí. Creo que sí, quiero hacer una lesson plan ahí. Ah, la mía como que Karen lo borró. O de pronto basándonos en lo que habíamos hecho cuando fue el jueves, que él nos había puesto a hacer uno, así como sí, yo lo anoté. Con Mike, creo que yo, sí creo que era con Michael, habíamos dicho como el desplazamiento forzado, cómo afectaba a las personas emocionalmente. Voy a anotar aquí la pregunta que tenía. Ay, con el de la profesora era la de los animales. Sí, como que porque todos los animales eran importantes en el ecosistema. Sí, creo que incluso se puede ecosystem, literal. Aunque será que eso sí le gusta a él. A ver. Yo creo que sí, como un scan. ¿Cómo se dirá scan? Busco scan y me sale stand-up comedy. Digamos así, una scan presentation. Envía extensión. También sería endanger animal, ¿cierto? Sí. Catarina es musaraña, anónimo. Yo creo que una especie. Pero tal vez como en grupos, ¿no? Porque si cada uno. Ah, ay, profe.
Oh, sorry. You can try now. Mhm. Um, what is the, okay. Will be able to present the research about endangered animals. Okay, but what is the research? What is the, like, okay. Okay, go ahead. Okay, but my question is, how can you connect this to the context of students? How can you make it more meaningful? Because yeah, I know it's important and it's important for everybody in the world, you know, for human beings, because we need those, we need the animals, we need the ecosystem to be working for us to also survive. But how can you connect it to students' contexts? For instance, why not, why not thinking about or doing some research about the animals that can be found locally and that have disappeared or that are starting to disappear here in our region, in Santander, in Bucaramanga, no? For instance, I remember that years ago, we would have, I remember how you say that in English, nutrias. You remember? Yeah, there should be a kind of nutria or other here in Santander, like near Bucaramanga, in Florida, and those rivers there. And nowadays, that is, I think, not non-existent, or at least the number has reduced considerably. So yeah, so that would be interesting, right? Like students should like find out information about that. Okay, in Santander, here near Bucaramanga, we would have these animals. Also the anteojos, for instance, that is not extinct but is in danger, right? The condor, you know, animals that can be found maybe in the region. Yeah, the idea is to make it as meaningful as possible for students. Okay, so they feel identified that what I was telling you, it's important for everybody, for all of us. But if we are able to connect, and if we are able to connect this project to something local, that is perfect. That is great. Exactly. exactly, so they can feel engaged, you know, and they can come up with some sort of campaign, right? Okay, let's try to do something to save these endangered species, right? Here in Santander, in Bucaramanga, I don't know, in Florida Blanca, in Piedecuesta, whatever, but that something that is close to us, right? That'll be nice. Uh-huh. I think that would be interesting. Okay. Yeah, that could be one example. The other, and I don't know, there should be some birds and some other animals that are endangered or that have disappeared. Also, I think there is a big cat. I don't remember the name, but there used to be big cats in the mountains near the city, near Piedecuesta. They are still there, but they are endangered as well, you know, because people hunt them, people kill them. No, big cats like tigres. They call it tigre, you know, tiger, but not the Bengala tiger, but they call it tigre in those regions. Yeah, there's a species of big tiger of big cats that can also be part of that. You know? All right, can I visit the other groups?
Okay, thank you. Ya mire, aquí en Santander está el jaguar, el puma, el tigrillo. Tigrillo. El caimán aguja. El guacamaya. El oso perezoso y el de anteojos. Ah, no, la nutria también, la nutria también. Sí, sí. Hay que vengar aquí. Especies serían como si los dividiéramos en mamíferos y eso, ¿no? Más. Ahorita están por allá en los páramos. Pues ya no hay porque se extinguieron. Bueno, igual él no sabe, nosotros le podemos decir que eso buscamos y nos salió. Ajá. No sería. También son mamíferos. Ay, y son carnívoros también. O si los dividimos mejor por acuáticos, terrestres y eso. Ajá. Como se resta en inglés. Ajá, terrestre. Los que vuelan. Y Santander. O de pronto eso es lo que ellos van a hacer, ¿no? O de pronto los estudiantes son divididos en 3 grupos, ¿no? Porque solamente están esas 3 categorías. Yo creo que sí. ¿Y cómo se podía prevenir algo así? Creo que no, creo que es como para decirlo. Yo creo que no, porque dice que una escuela pública. Ah, sí, una duda, a ver, Catalina. Creo que sí. Yo también estaba así confundida, pero creo que es eso. Y en el último presentarlo, ¿no? The protection, sí. Sí. Aunque no sé si nos puede cambiar lo de research, que lo había dicho ahorita. Si no me acuerdo. Ah, pero pues ya escogimos lo que van a presentar, lo de los brochures, los banners. ¿Será eso, no? Y él dijo como que sí. Ellos copiando todo. Ese es muchísimo trabajo. Ellos, ¿sabes qué les pareció hoy la bocena esta? Qué grosería. Ah, Catalina no sabe. Lo de Bocena, lo de estudios culturales. Ah, lo siento, Catalina, te quedo con la duda. Sí. No hicimos ahí como un meme, pero ese grupo estábamos muertos. Ah, bienvenida a los que van a exponer, Catalina. Prepárese porque la señora está súper loca. Sí. Y discutamos y después no, pero igual van a hacer lo que yo diga. Yo creo que no, la verdad. Ni sabe quiénes han presentado. Cerremos antes de que quedemos hablando mal de la profesora.
Addition, because I think that people were finishing. No problem. Okay. Were you able to finish, guys? Everybody? Yes. So I think it's not a problem if you didn't conclude the final part. Okay, no problem, Vilma. So who would like to share with us what you did? I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so that you can show to us what the proposals are. Who would like to share? Nobody? Come on. No volunteers, so I'll have to choose.
Well, I think maybe we could share, but I don't know. I am not able to share screen. Maybe Sharon or May can help me with that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, give me a second. We're finishing something. Okay. So our idea, I don't know if you can see the screen. I'm always confused with that.
It's loading. Okay.
Okay, so our idea, or well, our topic is mental health. Yes. So our goal is to create awareness about mental health. The specific topic is this mental health among teenagers, because we're thinking about school, right? So the idea is that the general idea is that the whole course will have an Instagram account in which they will be asked to post at specific times about specific subtopics. So in here, the topics will be divided in 4 groups. So one group will be in charge of types of mental health issues, another about the importance of mental health awareness for them, another about possible treatments, and another about the benefits of therapy, because when we were discussing, we were talking about a lot of different topics, and we came to the conclusion that therapy and mental health is like taboo still in here from personal experiences. So when the students have their topics, they will be, as I said, assigned a span of time to publish, and they can be as creative as they want. So they can like upload posts or videos or reels or stories, all based on the format of Instagram. I don't know what else is there. So the material they upload will be based on the language that they were taught in class, in this case, models, in order to give advice if it suits their subtopic. And the final product will be the page itself that will be shared with the school community and with whoever that has access to Instagram and an Instagram account. So he will try to put the guidelines, but we were not done yet. So this is basically what we wanted to tell the students. I don't know if somebody wants to read them or I can read them.
I can help you with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so the project for this term will be based on the topic of mental health. The idea is that you guys will gather information about subtopics and will create an Instagram account to share your project with the world and create awareness. There will be 4 different groups and each will be assigned with a subtopic as follows. Group 1, types of mental health issues. Group 2, importance of mental health awareness. Group 3, treatments. Group 4, benefits of therapy. All of you will have access to the IG account with the according user and password. Please use it carefully and wisely. The name and the user will be discussed in the classroom. So here we have like a kind of example, like for the user and password. And then you are going to gather information from articles and studies in order to create your posts and are allowed to be as creative as you want. You will be asked to post at different times. Group 1, week 1, group 2, week 2, group 3, week 3, group 4, week 4, and this is based, like, as we know, months have 4 weeks, so this is going to be the order for the groups to share their things on Instagram. And finally, we were going to also add on the guidelines the importance of the language focus that is going to be, as we mentioned before, models and how to give advice, like trying to tell them like you should or you could, you have to, this specific language focus. Okay, so that's going to be it.
All right, can you go to the top, please? Thank you, girls. All right, so a creation of an okay, so what I understand is students do some search, right? Online according to the topic they are assigned, right? And then what they do with that research they have conducted is that they do the post, right? They create the post. Am I right?
That's the idea.
Yes, and we chose Instagram because we know it's one of the most used social media platforms and it's easier to get to more people and to share this awareness. So
Especially teenagers.
Mhm. Teenagers and English, you can go and get to different type of public.
Okay, all right. So the main idea is to create that awareness about how to be careful with mental health, right? Which is a topic that is trending nowadays, isn't it? Due to everything that has happened with the pandemic.
Yeah.
People are suffering a lot of these related issues, right? So it's something that, and how, okay, yeah, it's something that is trending. And I see you're making it engaging by connecting with usage of social networks, right? Especially Instagram, that is really interesting for teenagers nowadays, right? They like it, they like all the time to be there, they post stuff. So that is a way to engage your students. And the topic is, maybe, I don't know if in the school level that the situation is similar, maybe it is, right?
Oh, we discussed it. It is.
It is, right?
It is worse. Not like that, but we thought that, for example, in our cases, maybe as, for example, my case, when I was in school, I was really hormonal because of my physiology, right? So that's like a phase where you struggle a lot with mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, and that what you say is true. That is sort of taboo in Colombia, isn't it? In our society, like people think that if you go to therapy or something like that, you're crazy, or you poor guy or poor girl, you know. So yeah, that is a topic that needs to be addressed, right? Seriously, because that can cause terrible problems, you know, in youngsters and in people in general. So I like it. I like it very much. It's nice, interesting, it's engaging, and how would you assess your students?
Well, I
Well,
hate the idea of creating to have like peer assessment as well, because everybody will have access to the account and they know in which week which group will post. So I wanted like to have like a gathering of the whole class during a session so that they can share their feedback on the other group's post.
okay, yeah, that's nice. The posts that they are doing, right? They're creating.
If they thought that they were new, or if they saw something like that before, or if they thought that it was creative or like innovative, or it was fun, because you can even create memes. So
Exactly. So the idea is to get as many followers as possible so that people can be more aware of these topics that are of importance to everybody, right? So yeah, okay. Good job, girls. Interesting. Thank you very much. All right. We have space for another group. Would somebody else like to share? No? Somebody else would like to share? Okay. Guys, for next day, please. I cannot hear anybody. Is anybody?
I
Yuan?
was going to say that we had something, but it's not structured. So the core idea is that is well, students are going to create no. They're going to be aware of the different indigenous languages here in Colombia. So so teacher is going to introduce a topic with a reading or a video about that linguistic diversity. Then students are going to get together and discuss the notion of bilingualism to see well if what they can say
Hello.
about that. If it's only anything else after that they page. Yeah, professor.
No, we lost you for some time.
Uh, the internet. There is a web page where there are like 8 indigenous languages, so they can use that web page to get in contact with the language. And in that web page, they have historical backgrounds of the languages and some basic eh, courses. So they may learn some
What is the
vocabulary
problem?
and they can relate that to Spanish vocabulary.
What is the problem?
The goal is to create a how can we create a raise awareness of linguistic diversity in Colombia?
Okay. Okay. What for?
Uh-huh.
What for? Or why?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes,
And
but
to
for instance,
mhm,
I'm asking this because, for instance, let's talk about the example that we just heard, the presentation that we just heard by the girls. Mm, we
mhm,
have a problem regarding mental health, youngsters are going through problematic situations because of mental health. That is a problem we have because that is not addressed. What about your topic? What is the problem? What do you want to do with that? Okay, create the awareness, but what is the problem? Or what is the situation, the problematic situation?
That many Colombian people think that being bilingual is just speaking Spanish and English.
Okay.
And also the fact that many indigenous people face problems because they don't speak Spanish. So it's like to raise the awareness so we can create like a better society or something like that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that sounds fair, you know?
Yes, and also Ivan was talking that maybe we can, well, think about a specific area in which there is an indigenous community, because sometimes we can see it as something really far because we don't see it. But maybe in those regions in our country in which there are a lot of indigenous students, it is like a really important topic.
Okay, how would you make it engaging for students? Remember the population, right? For us, for me, it's really engaging because I like it. I like the topic, and I think it's the same for you. But remember the population we have.
Well, the only idea that we had when we were discussing was just like to make them explore that page
in the how
in which they are the courses and all that stuff, and also the fact that they can use technology. But further from that, we didn't think about anything else.
What is and what would be the output or the end products or the artifact?
Yeah. We thought about a brochure.
Yes.
A brochure.
A brochure, yes, where they talk about the language they chose. Well, the classroom will be divided in 8 groups, and each group is going to choose a language because there are 8 languages in the webpage. So then, based on what they find in the webpage, they're going to create a brochure where they talk about, let's say, historical background of the language and characteristics, and well, what else I don't know right now. That's where we need more time to think about how
a brochure,
to make it more engaging.
A printed leaflet or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
That can be given to people.
That can be given to people. And what about the resources for that? Yeah, you need money for printing that out, and for like getting that, making that come to the hands of many people. I would think that by using technology and internet, you could reach more people.
Yeah, they can do a better job at expressing that.
You can reach more people. Yeah,
obviously.
So yeah, doing a brochure is nice, but you could do a digital one, or I don't know. You can find ways for something similar as the girls presented before. You know? Like teenagers and people and youngsters like social networks, so maybe that would be a nice platform for them to use technology, do something they like, they enjoy using, and then that's a way in which you could or they could reach more people, right? Yeah, you know, to raise that awareness in our country about indigenous languages, which is something I agree, like we don't have, you know, people only think about those prestigious languages, English, you know, the big ones, French, stuff like that. So that would be a nice initiative. But I think since this is a topic that is not so interesting for people in general, we need to find ways to make it a little bit more engaging, because I think the objective is nice, right? That is nice, but I think we could narrow the scope so that we can make our students, I don't know, help some of those communities, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe finding ways in which they could translate something and publish something in those indigenous languages, you know, something like that. Or I don't know, that's an idea I just have. But like many things can be done, you know, many things can be done, and especially students would, I think they would come up with ideas, with really interesting ideas, so that we can raise that awareness in our population. Maybe what I was telling another group, we could think about indigenous tribes that belong to the surroundings of the place where we live. Maybe we don't have a lot here in Santander, but I think in Arauca, there are some tribes there, you know, regions that are close to where the place where we live. That will be also a bit more connected to local realities, you know, or maybe do some search or research about local indigenous local communities established in Bucaramanga. You know, indigenous communities established in Bucaramanga, not local communities, because that is not correct. You know, and maybe the situation they are going through, the problem with the access to different things they have because of their lack of usage of Spanish, you know. So maybe that could connect also what students do to reality, just to something that happens in our context, right?
Yes, the only problem that we were facing was that we didn't know how to relate it with an English topic, of because yes, it sounds like a really good project, but I don't think it could be part of an
That
English
is
class,
that is
or
the
I don't know.
situation. Yeah, that is the situation when you address linguistic topics in projects, because for us it's awesome because we are in this field, you know, we like it, we like languages and stuff, but then we need to think about how we can connect, you know, the learning of the language, which is English, in the project and what they can do with that, right? So yeah, that would be an interesting um an interesting idea, and the challenge would be to try to connect what students do and what they learn in their English class with this sort of project. Maybe what we can do, or the way you can try to do, is to show the English speaking population the diversity we have, you know, regarding linguistic features and diversity. Sorry for the redundancy that we have in Colombia. That would be something different from your original idea, but at the same time, I think you would be creating that awareness in local people, because you would be publishing in social networks, you know, Colombian people, Colombian students, trying to reach other people from different parts of the world, you know. And by doing so, people here locally would be interested as well, right? And in there, you would connect English, right? I don't know. I think that would be the one way to connect it, right? Or be one possibility. Right? Of course, people outside Colombia know more than we do about the indigenous languages, because I could realize that mainly people who are in the linguistics field, you know. So this would be something not so specific for linguists, because they know a lot about what happens here, linguistically speaking. But for normal people, you know, people from all walks of life, for them to know, okay, do you know that in Colombia we have this many number of indigenous languages? You know, people doesn't know that. So that would be a nice opportunity for promoting awareness on how rich, how culturally rich we are. You know, that'll be something nice. And also looking for the protection of those indigenous languages, right? Aiming at protecting them, revitalizing them. You know, so that would be really nice project. I don't know if students in high school would like that. That would be the issue I would see there. But the possibility would be to try, to give them some space for them also to discover other things, to propose, to brainstorm. All right, but well, I like the objective there. Good job, guys. All right, for next day, we're gonna talk about this study, the one I wrote in the chat, that is called Increasing EFL Learners' Oral Production at a Public School, sorry, through Project-Based Learning, okay? That is by Baca 2017. Please have a look at that. We're gonna talk about it next day. And thank you very much, guys, for attending today. Thank you, guys. Have a nice night.
Bye-bye, Professor.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Good one.